welcome to Nerd Alert. We have an exciting week of shows for you this week. Plenty of robots and some pop culture. And with that, we have Francis Maxwell. Francis
Yay.
is
Did I
one of
give
the
myself
hosts. Yay!
a self-applause?
2 applause. It's twice as good and still kind of shitty. Francis is the host of TYT Sports. He is also on What the Flick quite often. He is a professional movie reviewer. Unlike myself. And we both do the Walking Dead reviews together, along with some Marvel reviews if you want to check that out. But mostly just you can stay here if you like, because we're going to talk about a lot of things. First of which is something you may know something about, which is, of course, Star Wars. Episode 8. I was going to say The Force Awakens, but we've already seen that. J.J. Abrams, the director of The Force Awakens, recently spoke out to the Daily Beast, saying his views on inclusiveness in the future of the series. And to that he said, "To me, the fun of Star Wars is the glory of possibility, so it seems insanely narrow-minded and counterintuitive to say that there wouldn't be a homosexual character in that world." So yes, according to him, the world should and will include gay characters for sure. He won't be directing episode 8, but I think he can still be counted on as a fairly reliable source for the series.
Are you telling me that there's going to be more inclusiveness in Star Wars, the movie that's about
a woman and a black man?
It's about a woman and a black man and people who are relationships between potentially different creatures and humans? Are you telling me that that's a possibility?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
insane.
when you phrase it like that, it gets to the crux of it, which is, of course it is. I mean, we live in well, first of all, this is sci-fi.
Yes.
Sci-fi doesn't usually go in the direction of going backward. We generally move forward to a more progressive society, a society in which we all have moved beyond our worries about, oh, his skin is different, she's a different gender than me, I feel uncomfortable around this sexuality. And we've moved on to bigger problems, namely the Star Wars. So yeah, it makes complete sense. And homosexual characters have appeared in many Star Wars media. Most of it is the expanded universe, and video games, but it's not like this is brand new territory and it's so controversial, though some people might have you think so.
Oh, well, it's bound to get some sort of Twitter reaction if it is announced and who the characters are that are going to be involved in the homosexual relationships. But you hit the nail on the head. It is funny that it still poses a reaction, but it's also encouraging that we use a platform which is such an open space, like Star Wars, like where anything goes, basically. If you have a thought in your head, oh, it could possibly happen. It's very creative, it's very forward-thinking, and why would it not be prominent in that life? Why would it not be prominent in a world in which they embrace the difference of everyone else? It's why there is going to be, and there has been, relationships between different creatures. There has been relationships between different species. That's what this world is about. So J.J. Abrams, of course, is thinking that way. Yeah, of course.
Sometimes I see arguments like, oh, you're reading it wrong. It's just a comic book story, or it's just a space movie. And no, it's not that. I mean, there is this, fantasy aspect and this complete separation of this world, the real world, and this made-up world. But there's always going to be reflections. I mean, we see that. It's silly to me to see that argument, because that's kind of what we see in cinema constantly, and that what we see in books and comic books. It's dramatizing of a larger idea, a larger story. It's not just a small-minded, this is one person, that's the other person.
And the one thing that this kind of took me back to is, like, when it was first announced it was going to be a black character in Star Wars, again, there was an uproar, or there was a reaction, which is still frustrating because there shouldn't be a reaction, right? Same thing happened when James Bond was circulating around Idris Elba, right? Movie is up to interpretation, how you interpret that character. Nowhere did anyone just assume that James Bond had to just be white. There are tons of black English people out there. There are tons of Pakistani English people out there. It isn't specific to that one person. It's based on the interpretation of the person who is going to write that part of the movie and who's going to be watching it. So I think it's very narrow-minded to assume that a fictional character has to be of someone of a certain color or a certain sexuality. That's why movies are there to explore these boundaries and to showcase to us that this is what you should be embracing. It shouldn't be based on how, just because someone wrote it, doesn't mean that can't be adjusted. It's not historical facts.
Well, I mean, you can say this is the way it was written, but you have to remember the context in which it was written.
Exactly. And when it was written first.
Who was it written for? Who are the people who are doing these things? But I think the world or the narrative is larger and wider than it was maybe in Golden Age or Silver Age or the 1960s or what have you. And we need to represent that and reflect the world that we actually live in, even when we go to worlds far, far away.
True words.
Audience, What do you think? Let us know below in the comments. Please like and subscribe for more.